Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We are live, and I'm going to just do some commentary on what's going on Twitter for a little bit while I'm waiting for folks to enter the chat. And just there's some stuff I'm going to basically share. I did buy 325,000 Cardano today, and I used Bitcoin for it. I'm going to explain to you why I did this, because it's been something that's been chipping at me for a while. And I was waiting for the perfect spread. I was waiting for the perfect opportunity to do this. I'm not sure if it's perfect, but I will say it's much better than it has been, given where everything's been, and the price of Bitcoin and the price of Cardano and the price of everything else. So, and I know a lot of people, they might watch some YouTubers and think, they say this, they say that, but do they actually practice what they preach? And this is definitely an instance where I do. I practice what I preach. I absolutely wholeheartedly believe in Cardano, and I figure this is an opportunity for me that I've had opportunities like this in the past that I didn't take advantage of. I talked myself out of it. I've talked myself out of it a few times in this market cycle as well. And it's one of those things where I feel like I needed to do it. And I figure, what, why not share with all of you what I'm doing in real time, what I've done. So we're going to start looking at things on the chart, and we're going to just kind of go over some stuff. So I was looking at my Validity account. Validity is up about 3.86%, currently trading about 64%. It was up in the 80-cent range before things dumped, and it was actually much lower at one point. It was in like the 50-something cent range, and it's been pulling back up, and it's been doing okay. I mean, honestly, I'm not at any loss so far on Validity, so it's been treating me fairly well. So I'll take it. It is what it is. But I mean, I expect to see this go up actually with the rest of the market. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm always right sometimes. I could be wrong, but so far Valinity's been doing all right. Now, if we look at the history of Bitcoin and where it's been, you can see that over a period of 81 days, starting prior to the last halving in 2020, okay, this is looking at 2020 right here, you can see the price rose 161%. Before the halving, and then peaking out on a local level to the halving over a period of 81 days. And I've been looking at the price a lot, obviously with my recent price prediction videos and that whole series that I've been pumping out this week. And I'm like, when I'm looking at these numbers, I'm thinking, how does this relate to what's happening now? And so now we're looking at the present market, and we see, using Market Cipher, which I don't know any other indicator other than Market Cipher that really shows these manipulation instances where the price is either manipulated to the up or downside. And I don't even know how that's equated for or calculated, but it seems to be pretty accurate. Because you can see here, we were trending sideways a little bit, and then we got this red X of manipulation before we started getting another push down. I'm going to assume that manipulation is the market makers really making a exceedingly strong effort to reach points of liquidity, which I'm going to show you on a liquidity heat map here. But ultimately, you can see that around $42,000 is where there's a lot of activity. Okay, there are a lot of, I'm going to assume, buy orders in this range. I don't necessarily think we're going to go down that far. I really don't. And then you can see there's another level of price action here waiting around the 51,000 mark. I'm really hoping we don't see that either. But what you don't hear a lot of is the pi cycle. Okay. Now, the green and orange lines are basically the pi cycle indicators that generally, when the orange crosses above the green, we've peaked, right? But if you look out through history, we don't generally break too far below it. Okay, we might come down a little bit here and there, but ultimately we skirt that indicator. Now, down here, we got the biggest price movement away from that. Okay, there's a couple. All right, so this was basically January of 2022, and then we've got this was around Bitcoin's $18,000 mark. All right, so it's not that it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen too frequently in a bull market. Okay, post halving, unless it's after a peak. Now you can see here that this was ultimately this was April 13th, 2021, where these indicators peaked. But we didn't get the second peak of that market until November of 2021. So post-peak, we got a dip below that line. And then after the peak of the market cycle, we got several more in this bear market. But if you look historically, once you get into the zone of the halving, so like this was the 2019 halving, you don't really see too many significant dips below. We got one here where we went from about 8,000 down to about 4,000. So that was like a 50% drop once we broke through that and continued moving. But then once we got out of that, this was the 2020 halving. And you can see we didn't really go, we didn't break too far from that. All right. So we did have a couple of instances, but we're post halving in a bull market, which is we're really kind of in this territory here where we should bounce off of this. Ultimately, we can call that a moving average, but we bounced off of it. And it's not until we peak that we generally start really crashing below, because the price crashes so fast that moving average generally has to catch up to it. So if we go into where we're at now, we can see us, touching below. We're obviously probably going to close below, and we might move a little lower. But realistically, what is the price looking for? And what does this have to do with my buy of Cardano using Bitcoin? Well, because right now, if we took the price of Bitcoin at around, let's say, where it was around 64.5, I think it was, something to that effect. Around this price action, I think it was around 64.5 when I made the trade. And when we take that into consideration with Cardano's price of 37,000, it's a question of what can I get for the money? So if Bitcoin is trading at $64,500, $64,500 right now, I divide that by 0.37, which is the current price. I'm getting around 175,000 Cardano for one Bitcoin. I have not seen this spread in quite some time. And if I were to calculate this, like when Bitcoin was, let's just take this for example, 73,000. Let's just call it 74,000. All right. So when Bitcoin was $74,000, I keep doing this, 74,000. And then I divide Cardano at also at the peak of that price, which is around 81 cents. So I divide this by 0.81. Well, now I'm only getting 91.3 thousand Cardano for one Bitcoin. So I've been watching the spread between Bitcoin's value and Cardano's price for quite some time, since the peak of this. And when I see that spread, because obviously the altcoins generally bleed a lot into Bitcoin, right? But what I believe we're seeing is a position where Bitcoin is likely going to reverse. I'm hoping Bitcoin reverses somewhere around the $63,000, maybe $62,000 mark. Why? Because if we look at this chart, this is the liquidation heat map, okay? What we're seeing here is at a price of around 64,165. This is where the highest concentration of basically potential liquidations are. And there's about $37.2 million that could be liquidated when Bitcoin reaches 64,165. And if we go a step lower, we can see at about $64,100 or 109, there's another $47 million there. So between these two price points, really a difference between around, $70. I mean, really, give or take a little bit here. Within the next $70 or so of this price point, that's a huge liquidation. So when I take that into consideration, given the spread between Cardano's price and Bitcoin's price, I'm going to assume that we're likely looking at a position where the price is likely going to bounce off of this at some point. And if we look at where the price is right now, you can see this is the liquidation level here, where basically it's actually more than that. It's around it's a 40, we'll call it $80 million in liquidations once the price reaches this point. And it looks like it's reached it, but it hasn't. If we look at this on a much smaller time frame, let's look at this on a 30-minute candle. You can see we didn't actually break through this limit here. We didn't break through this line, and we've been getting a bit of a reversal. I see us definitely hitting this price point. And we are, on a 30-minute candle, we're well below the pi cycle indicator. And I think that we're liquidity hunting, which is why we see these axes of manipulation, because this is the market makers really pushing to try and liquidate those price points. And a lot of these people that are in these longs expecting the price to move, they're in these longs because they're expecting to see, they're praying right now that they don't get liquidated here. And if they close out of those trades, well, they're going to be in some pretty substantial losses anyway. So they're just hoping, they're crossing their fingers, hoping that this isn't the case. So when I look at this, I'm expecting to see these folks likely get liquidated before that pressure starts moving back out of there and working our way up. And you can see to the north side of the price action, we can see 67,422 being where we're getting some very high concentration of price. 66,000, we've got about 23.5 million worth of liquidation there. So we're going to likely see these market makers start trying to push the price to the upside, but I don't believe it's going to be before they've eaten all of this liquidity down here. And that's what I'm expecting to see. And I also think it's nice to see Analos trading. I mean, this has been pretty interesting here, seeing the price action of Analos token, just a funny meme token it's ultimately just kind of like, poking fun at Solana. So this is definitely a meme token. It's on base. So, if you're interested in that, it's myanalos.com. It's something I started 100% fair launch. I burned the LP tokens, the whole nine. It's all on the website. Go check that out if you're interested in it. But people have been kind of buying this, and it's like having fun, and it's been moving. We got one little dip that basically turned right around. But the market cap's only 12,000. This could go so much higher. I'm not saying it's going to, but if it does, it would be kind of fun. So yeah, check that out if you're at all interested in just basically, because I figure the bigger the market cap of my Analos gets, the more people are going to be looking at it, going to the website and reading some of the articles and some of the content related to Solana that I think will be very eye-opening for people. And that's really what it's all about. This isn't like, it's nothing more than just making sure people understand the actual narrative around Solana and not getting caught up in things they don't fully understand. So that's what that's all about. So that's ultimately it in a nutshell. I mean, Cardano's been hanging out at around 37 cents. And, we're at a very big point where this is where a lot of, I don't necessarily see us breaking down much further from this. Now, that could be famous last words. We could see a point where we come all the way down here to 24 cents, but I'm really hoping we don't see that. But I don't necessarily see that happening. And I think that once Bitcoin basically gets through, chews up this liquidity at the $64,100 point. I see us basically turning around and then moving back up, and then from there potentially bouncing off of this as we just kind of chew up a lot of the longs and shorts in the midst of this range, because ultimately that's what we've been doing, and we've had a pretty significant range for a while now. And I, that's just what I see happening. So I'm going to go ahead and address some questions. Wow, 1,344 of you right now. Very interesting. I'm going to have to really address this and see what you guys have to say. What do you guys think about what I'm doing? Do you think I'm absolutely nuts? But yeah, I did. I basically, I got about 325,000 ADA this afternoon. I feel much more complete having done that. I feel like I'm at a very nice number where, what happens in crypto and what happens in Cardano, it's either going to affect me in really big positive ways or it's not. And I have to say, when I was making the transaction, I was shaking. I was really, really shaking. And so and on top of that, I have ultimately averaged my price of Cardano's and my Cardano entry down quite a bit doing this, because ultimately I had my Bitcoin from a price point of around 20,000, and then I let it go all the way up to where it's at now, and then I bought Cardano on such a dramatic spread between ADA and Bitcoin that I'm hoping it's a very lucrative play over the course of this next year. And I'm extremely bullish about it. It's not to say that I'm not nervous. Obviously, to make big, bold decisions like this when the market is bleeding and the sentiment is down and people are panicking and questioning. But this is the difference between ultimately, and especially in history, it's like, I believe in Cardano. I believe in the Chang hard fork, everything that's happening on Cardano. Quite frankly, I'm looking at Cardano and what happens when Chang hard fork completes. We are truly decentralized, and the public is able to start taking advantage of $1.5 billion ADA treasury. That, if let's just say Cardano gets back to $1, it rose up to 84 cents in a month and a half. Okay, it took, from a low, basically from the lowest point to where it's at, where it hit at 84 cents. That was basically when Bitcoin pumped because of a lot of the institutions and all of that. So there's so much to this decision, and I feel very, very strongly about it. And I'm just thinking to myself, when Cardano just hits $1, where does that leave us? That leaves us with $1.5 billion treasury that we are going to be able to vote on actually getting marketing. We educating people on Cardano, what it does, all of the different use cases that it's that's transforming crypto. That alone is going to send Cardano, in my opinion, significantly higher. And this will be the first market cycle. And this is what I believe. Charles, and I don't know this to be fact, but this is me speculating. But Charles has never really worried much about the price of Cardano while they've been building it to this point. Why? Because I believe that while Cardano has been the tortoise to the hare in this race of crypto, it's been doing everything right. Absolutely everything right. They have not listened to the audience. They have not listened to the speculators. They haven't listened to all of these people that are trying to FUD it or say, well, we could grow so much faster if you just burn tokens. All of these narratives around Cardano and its price action have been ultimately ignored in favor of the fundamentals and the things that make Cardano special, and ultimately raise the bar so much higher on the rest of the crypto space. And we're seeing global use cases come into play, not just a meme coin economy that's going to, artificially pump the value of it until everything's gone to shit. We're not seeing a lot of these short-term narratives be assigned to Cardano because they just don't stick. Because everybody knows, even the haters of Cardano understand the power that Cardano brings to the Web3 and the blockchain space overall. And these narratives, I believe, are going to ultimately really start transitioning out of a lot of the shit tokens that people have been speculating on to date. And a lot of that money is going to flow into ADA. And I believe that is going to be part because of the narrative associated with the decentralization of crypto and what actually matters to the people, and not only to the people, but to significant enterprise level use cases that are looking to entrust blockchain technology to take themselves from the old guard into the new guard of commerce, of e-commerce, of finance, of Web3, metaverse, file storage. I mean, you name it, any major significant use case that Cardano is ultimately going to take care of. And I think that they're going to take care of it using metrics that have never been before seen. And we are absolutely raising the bar in the blockchain space. I believe it so much that I'm all in. I've got one Bitcoin, folks. That's it. And it's nervous. I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. It's a dramatic and bold move. But you know, I feel like I have built ultimately a career off of my gut as it relates to Cardano since Cardano's inception. And I've been going against the grain of a lot of the FUD and a lot of the naysayers and the doubters, and ultimately what I believe in anymore especially are just bots and paid folks that are ultimately incentivized to try and push other blockchains. We know who they are, we know what they are, and try to, and I just consider each and every one of them sellouts. I'm just gonna be blunt. You know, I believe that there are people out there who legitimately expect to see Solana rise because number go up, but they don't fully understand, nor do I think a lot of them care about why Solana price go up. And I think that it's ultimately a house of cards, in my opinion. And I think that a lot of the people that are out there promoting blockchains like Solana because they have big bags, or they basically bought a lot of Solana at a point in the market when FTX crashed and Solana started dumping significantly overnight. A lot of people got caught up and they were left with significant bags, and they're really trying to get it back to a price point where they can exit a shit blockchain and silently just turn and walk another way. That's what I believe. I still believe that this is going to be Solana's last market cycle, because I don't think that anything out there is really going to hold Solana together outside of meme coins. And we see that meme coin economy. How many people are getting burned on the daily because of this meme coin economy that's been established to ultimately continue drawing new money into a blockchain that shuts down and does all kinds of crazy shit? Go to myanalos.com. I don't even care if you get the token. I really don't. That's just a vehicle to try and draw attention to the website, as well as like the AI image generator that's on the website. You can play around with that. But yeah, I mean, that's basically where I'm at with it. This is a really big deal, and I'm shaky. I'm shaky right now, even talking about it, if I'm honest. But I'm either going to become like, you know, legendary for just really putting my money where my mouth and my heart is, or I'm going to be like, I don't know, working at McDonald's in California, hopefully for $20 an hour, if I can outwork the bots and the robots that they hire. So let me take a look at any comments or questions. I don't want this video to be significantly long. I don't want it to be, you know, really, really long. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely nervous, but I'm waiting for Chang hard fork. I know that my developer is working on getting everything ready for the node. If you're not delegating to the Crow node, I don't know why, because it's been performing pretty well for quite a while. And let me see, where is this Crow? Is that it, or is it IO? Yeah. So let me pull this up real quick, and then I'm going to address some comments and things if you guys have questions. And I am going to be working on more prediction videos, similar to the ones that, like, I think, I'm not even sure which one launched today, but all of the videos that I've launched this week absolutely should be watched. Obviously, one of them is like an hour and a half long that I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to watch an hour and a half. It's time coded, folks. You don't have to watch the entire thing, though I absolutely feel everybody should, because there's so much information in those videos. That's why I cut them down into like 4 individual videos. And then maybe I might even cut them further down into shorts, because there's just a lot of really good nuggets in there of information that I think everybody should be privy to. And you know, it is what it is. I you can't really lead a deer to water, but you know, it is what it is. So Cardano, this is my node. For those of you that are interested at all, you can delegate your node to Crow node. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on in chat land. Man, there's almost 2,000 of you on live. This must be really affecting a lot of you. I'm genuinely hoping that this, and this is honestly a part of why I did this today, is because I'm hoping that this is some sort of solace for those of you so that you know you're not alone. Because it's really difficult in the crypto space sometimes to make sense of what's going on and to maintain a level of confidence and a feeling of security when you feel like the entire world is somehow kind of working against you. And I feel that way a lot as well. And I it's one of the reasons why I did everything I did this week. That's one of the major reasons why I did the prediction videos that I did. It was me trying to make sense of what is likely to come. And when I did all those calculations and I worked up all of those numbers, it's like I'm always working on stuff and I'm always trying to make sense of the world around me, the crypto space, even the stock market to some degree, to get an understanding as to where we're at economically. And I think that, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, they always say you invest when there's blood in the streets, right? And there's a lot of blood in the streets today. And I'm hoping that when this turns around, that all of us that maintain our faith and maintain our education in the space, you know, I love, and one of my biggest things that I think about with you guys, all of you that watch me, is that I genuinely hope that, you know, with all the things that I really suffer through, from anxiety to stress to just a lot of stuff that can really bring me down in a lot of ways, to a point where it almost locks me up to the point where I don't even want to get out of bed. I mean, it's like I look at the world around me and I'm thinking, I just don't even want to face it today. And I'm always looking for that element of hope that can give me a reason to work, to give me a reason to rise up against all of the shit and do something and become something. And I'm hoping that the videos that I put out for you guys, really, I hope that it helps you rise up above a lot of the shit that we're seeing on a regular basis. And I'm hoping to some extent that I'm kind of leading a charge. I am absolutely about the decentralization of everything. I am absolutely not for centralized control anymore. Not that I ever really was, but just the way our world works is changing, and we're transitioning significantly out of centralized control and into decentralized consensus for everything. I mean, I just feel that that's where we're going. And I don't believe there's a blockchain that does it better than Cardano. And I don't believe that there's been a blockchain that do anything like it since Bitcoin. And I really want my channel to be one where everybody says, you know what, Crow's right sometimes. He's always right sometimes, but he's never steered us in a direction that was intentionally foul, you know, because he was being paid or because he had bags that he's trying to pump. You know, I'm right here with you. I am genuinely right here with you. I am struggling through all of the same things. And I know a lot of YouTubers like to put themselves on pedestals and build, you know, big grand audiences full of pipe dreams, hope, and bullshit, as they're basically being paid secretly to pump a bunch of garbage, or they're buying tokens and then they're telling you about them afterwards so that you guys run out and pump the price so that they can then use you as exit liquidity, and they rinse and repeat. And some of these people have gotten really famous doing that. And it's like, that's not my bag. That's not what I think is cool. I don't even think that's ethical to do that. But some of them really get off on doing shit like that. And they're enriching themselves at the expense of all of you. And that's just not my way. Like I said, I still have tokens I bought back in 2017 on wallets I've never touched. And I wholeheartedly and genuinely want each and every one of you to do exceedingly well over the next year. And I want everybody that watches my channel to have their lives touched in a positive way. And that's ultimately why I do what I do. I don't need to be here on YouTube doing this stuff. I don't need to be crunching these numbers and researching projects. And, I don't need to be doing any of this shit. I am really, truly only here because of you guys. And if there's a way to make extra money doing it on the side too, well, that's fantastic. That's icing on the cake. But ultimately, I get all of your messages and I see all of your comments, and I get your messages on Twitter and Facebook and Telegram and pretty much everywhere. And I know that sometimes you guys are just looking for a guiding light, and I'm trying my best to be that for you in as realistic a way as possible without giving you false hope, and without giving you false education. And as long as you know and you understand that I really do truly do everything I do to try and help all of us, obviously including myself, I want us all to do well. I want all of our lives to change. That's it. I mean, that's really it. And I know a lot of people don't really share stuff like this. But I just hope you guys know I love all of you. I don't care if you're right or left. I don't care if you're gay or straight. I don't care if you're, I don't care. I don't care what color you are. I genuinely have a place in my heart for all of you. And it's time for things to turn around. And it really is time for things to turn around on a big way before we end up somewhere we can't turn back from. And that does scare the hell out of me. And if there's anything that I'm doing to try and limit the damage that could be potentially done to the US dollar or the US economy or what have you, is I'm really hoping that crypto helps spread the loss of what's happening in some of these countries, because we are in a global economy when it comes to crypto, and the actions of one country don't dictate what happens with the rest of the world. And when we think about something as decentralized as Cardano, I believe that as use cases continue to rise and companies continue to work on Cardano and build on Cardano, and more people are being educated about Cardano, I know that it sounds cultish, and I know that it can sound religious, and I don't mean it to be that way. But in a world screaming for something decentralized that the public can have some sense of stability, control, and not be at the behest of a few people, if you want to maintain yourself and your well-being and your financial well-being at the hands of 20 or 30 people that can dictate whatever they want, then more power to you. I hope that goes well for you. But when it comes to me, I'm looking for a place to spread my wings and ultimately fly, baby, fly. That's all I can say. Thanks for joining me, guys. I got to get off here before I get over emotional, which is not what I want to do today. But I hope I made a big, I hope I did the right thing today. I truly believe I did. We're going to find out. Until next time, I love you guys. Crow your coins, and I'll see you again real soon.